Good morning. It is 11:13 a.m. on Saturday, February 20th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis and I slept in. This is 5 more minutes. So, sleeping in. It's good. It's good. I like it. I've talked about sleep before and how I sometimes resent the need for it or the need for so much of it. It's like, sure, it feels good, but it only feels good because our brain is tricking us. We need it, and so our brain says, well, the best way to make sure we get it is to make it feel good. So, So it's just that thing where it's like, I feel better for having slept in, but now I have less time today. It's fine, but it just remains to be one of those things where the hypothetical pill that, like, oh, well, if you could take a pill and then for the rest of your life you only needed 2 hours of sleep, you could get just as much rest, get all the health benefits just from 2 hours of sleep. I would totally do it. But, that is not a realistic expectation. So last night I caught up on the most recent episode of Sci-Fi's The Magicians. And I have to say the show is growing on me, and I think maybe part of what's happening there is that I've come a little bit more to peace with the idea that it's not going to be quite what the books was. And so I am now more open to letting it be what it's going to be. It's the last couple of episodes have started introducing some new concepts instead of just burning through the plot of the books so quickly. And I'm kind of glad to see that, and honestly, if what the show is going to be is having a couple of episodes where they go through the book plots, but then follow it with a couple of episodes where they start introducing other things, I can get on board with that. And so I've been enjoying it. I looked up AV Club's review of the most recent episode, and they weren't so much a fan, called it a B minus, and saying it was having all sorts of balance troubles. And I don't know, maybe that's how it plays for other people, but I'm increasingly enjoying the show, and definitely going to keep watching it, even though it's definitely not quite what the books were. And that's fine. It's an adaptation. It would be a mistake to try to make it too similar because, this is something I feel pretty strongly about, and I've talked about before, is that when you have a story that is adapted from one medium into another, and most often it's like a book into a movie or a book into a TV show, but it could also be a TV show into a movie or a video game into a movie or, a movie into a video game. If the focus is too much on trying to preserve the story, like to an exacting degree, you're more often going to end up with problems because the story is just not going to be the same in the different mediums. The different mediums have different strengths and weaknesses. Books are going to be much better at exploring the inner life, inner thoughts and feelings of the characters, whereas a movie is much better at showing action sequences, for example. And so that's just something where I think the best adaptations really are able to balance taking the spirit of a story and transforming it into a better fit in the new medium. Plus, honestly, I think it's more interesting to have it mixed up a little bit so it's not just a beat for beat recycling of plot points. And I think that's part of what was bugging me watching the most recent Walking Dead episode, is that there were big chunks of it where I felt like I knew what was going to happen, and I was right, because they're dealing with some big moments from the graphic novel history. And honestly, even though these were huge developments for characters that I care about, I felt kind of bored watching it because I knew what was going to happen. And so there is a joy in seeing a story that you have already um, i- uh, like gained pleasure from, and then seeing it adapted, like, oh, finally seeing the movie version of this scene, like that can be a joy, but I think that it's also a missed opportunity if you try to keep the story so similar that there's no surprise anymore. Yeah. So that's how I feel about The Magicians currently. Oh goodness. We'll see um, as it continues to develop. My agenda today, I think, is to not give myself too many assignments and to try to get a little bit caught up on TV shows I've been watching. Oh, I'll just also briefly acknowledge this Broncos championship T-shirt that my mom sent me. Thank you, Mom. Um, since I grew up in Colorado, of course, my family is still all out there. Broncos fan, despite living in Massachusetts right now. So that's why I'm wearing this T-shirt as pajamas instead of, say, to the grocery store. All right, talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.